the North American market, and what that's been like, given the fact that there's the UK series on at the same time as you're doing that.
Well, I think for Anna and myself, being married but never had, well, we worked together once briefly, that's where we first met, but we were never a team before this, a writing team, so I was joking about it, but that always is the big issue, coming together as writing partners while also being married. It's fraught with every possible thing, but you know, when we were approached to do the idea, we were both huge fans of the BBC version, so I think it's always a challenge and a little bit intimidating to try and follow in the footsteps of something like that while forging your own path. And I think that's probably what I'm most proud about from last season, is the way we sort of blended the BBC version and then ours. And I think this year you'll see that we are striking out on a pretty farly different path in the BBC version, which I think everyone up here is tremendously excited about. We really are laying down our own sort of framework.
Like, people have asked, like, what are you looking forward to for this season? And my answer was always, you know, whatever I came up with right now on the spot pales in comparison to what I'm sure they're coming up with for us. And it's so true. Like, all the stuff that I'd hoped was going to happen is so far exceeded and so amazingly well drawn, and like exploring sides of the Ghost character, especially, that are like,
but also so
cool.
Absolutely unpredictable.
Yeah.
We stayed away from watching the British series because we're like, these need to be different characters. We need to do our own thing. And then since then we've seen the British series and have become huge fans.
Huge fans. It's amazing.
Yeah. I've seen all 3 of the seasons, and if you haven't seen it, go out and get the DVD. It's really good. But likewise, because they knew that they were going to diverge entirely from the second season, they haven't seen the British second season. So it's just from the beginning entirely different and unpredictable. And because I liked the second season so much in the British series, I feel like I was a tough audience, and I really love what we're doing.
So Sammy, to go to Josh for a second. Josh is kind of like the house dad. He's a sweet, lovely, wonderful guy. We also saw so many hints in the first season of this complicated human past that he has. Where's that going? And are we going to see some of that? Your, lovelord fiance and all those kinds of things.
I can't tell you.
I'm just sneaking in.
They suggest you ask these questions. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and say, and I'm fairly certain you'll all agree with me, Josh is much more like the house mom.
Yes.
Than the house dad. I'm like definitely the dead mother, for sure. Yeah. He's the dad and she's the kid. If we're talking family here, that's the deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that I can kind of...
Or how do you play it? Talk about that, sort of expressing all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Josh's backstory is what forms him, and what informs every, this is for sci-fi, by the way. Say hi to sci-fi, everybody. You're all going to be online, so there's a waiver that you're going to have to sign.
There's going to be a line outside.
Line outside. You will not leave the building. But yeah, he's like I said, grew a lot last season. So the things that were haunting him last season are ghosts
yes.
are still definitely under the surface. But the cool thing is he's stronger. So his coping mechanism is stronger.
And you've worked out a lot between seasons.
I've worked out a lot.
He has.
And where I've gotten physically stronger.
Oh my God, he's about 25 to 50% stronger than he was last year. Believe me, he's lifted so many heavy objects, and then in fact the objects started getting heavier, and he's like, I'm going to lift the heavier one. And he's like, whoa, look at that.
Yeah. The next thing you know, I lifted Witwer.
Yep. Heavy objects.
Heavy. Exactly.
So Sam Witwer, going to your character now, because we want to make sure we have time for your questions.
Sorry, guys.
It's very upsetting. So we see Aiden have these really heartbreaking moments over the course of the season. He falls in love, he has to stake her. He makes a friend in the neighborhood, he's got to stake him. And now we're at this, maybe not, but now we're at this point where he's about to be kind of head vamp, maybe, and I'm wondering how you play somebody who has such a constant state of loss and is now transitioning potentially into this new role. What's that Aiden look like?
Aiden, I always intended that Aiden was a vampire entirely off his game. And then he always tried to play it like he was on his game, so he's, you know, very like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, but he's just so scared inside. And we see even more of that in the second season because he's completely off the rails at this point. You know, Bishop is not around, and let's remember, it's interesting. I was really interested by the way that Bishop was written, Aiden and Bishop were written last year because we didn't see them be friendly that much, but I certainly got that they were super close. For some reason, I don't know, I don't want to speak for the audience, but the audience definitely got it. Take it from the audience. You know, anyway, so for it's a huge deal for Bishop to be gone, and Aiden being so ridiculously off his game. I mean, you gotta remember, this is the only time he's ever been actually successful at this. When we see him with Celine back in the day, I think the implication is he's still swiping someone, or he's doing some things that she would find reprehensible, but he's kind of being cool about it, or he's maybe sucking on a blood bag every now and then, but this is the first time he's had any real success. And even at the first episode, he kills a girl. Oops. So this is a guy who isn't ready to be on his own yet, and he's trying to be more open with his roommates, but we also see how that is not something he's used to doing either. He's kind of it's sad because he doesn't really have anyone that he can actually be totally honest with. So.
That being said, though, that is kind of a big change this season while we're on the subject, is we are a lot more open with each other.
Yes.
We're a lot more trusting with each other. He's a lot more open with what's going on in his life. It's kind of nice because it humanizes the Aiden character, you know, he's such a hard ass.
It does.
And it's nice when he's like more open. He's got a lot more button-down shirts this year. You know, he's softened.
Yeah, he wears underwear this year.
Wears underwear this year.
That much.
Yeah.
I do it.
Well, he shaved so badly.
It's true. Yeah.
It was implied. You guys got that.
But that's where he got that grim look on his face.
So here's what we're going to do now.